going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, day 30 here on the 31 Days of Horror Volume 5. And yes, man, we are getting so close to the end. And for today, we're going to take it back to, in my opinion, one of the greatest years in horror history, 1981. With a film that I have not seen in so many years. I just wanted to revisit it because Scream Factory just dropped the Blu-ray. I unfortunately actually missed this DVD release. Anchor Bay put out the DVD years ago, and I never picked it up for whatever reason, but I do remember renting it back in the day and only remembering minor parts from it. And it's a film called Fear No Evil, directed by Frank Lagaglia. He actually ended up directing Lady in White. That's what I recognize the name from. I'm like, that's the guy that directed Lady in White from 1988. And then he also did a film like in the mid-90s called Mother, another horror film. And that's like it for his filmography, which is very sporadic, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, Fear No Evil. Synopsis. This one follows our main character, Andrew. We get a little bit of a backstory in the beginning of the film. You know, it takes place in 1963, and he's just been born, and now he's being baptized. And there's this really cool scene in the beginning of the film where he's being baptized and kind of, I think essentially he's like turning the water to blood, and he's kind of like spraying everybody. Because we learn very fast that Andrew is actually, you know, the reincarnation of the devil. So he's obviously not accepting the baptism and stuff. Then it jumps forward to 1981 to his like 18th birthday. Obviously his parents have had a really, really rough time with him throughout these 18 years. We learn fast that, you know, he's been a problem child for them and stuff like that. And he's been tearing them apart and shit. And then of course on Andrew's 18th birthday, he starts to realize that he's got these weird powers and he's a little bit different and stuff. And that's the thing about Andrew, is that he's actually quite different anyways. You know, he's a very kind of introverted person, very quiet. He's awkward. He's very smart. But now he's starting to realize, on top of that, that he's got these weird powers and he's got these abilities and things like that. Meanwhile, we start to learn through the first like half of the film that there's also these three archangels that have been sent down to Earth from God. One in the form of a father, one in the form of an elderly lady, and also a young high school girl too, to basically fight against Andrew, or the devil, before he ends up taking over the world and turning all the entire human race into slaves. So, yeah, it's the synopsis of the film. My thoughts on this one, this one, it's a pretty fun film. If you're into religious, you know, kind of God versus or good versus evil type stories and stuff, this is a very typical one, really. You know, we've seen a lot of these stories where, you know, someone's, you know, the devil's reborn into somebody, and then their goal is just to take over the earth and stuff. We've seen this story a million times. This one's kind of interesting. It's got some pretty interesting points. It's very religious and stuff. The first 45 minutes of the film, I would say, the first half of the movie is a little bit jumbled. It's a little bit messy and stuff. There's things that are happening, and we're getting introduced to these characters, but we're not really fully sure, like, where this thing's kind of going with these characters and stuff. It takes a while to really flesh out, you know, the archangels and things that are happening and stuff. But once it kind of gets going, I think the last like half an hour of this movie actually is definitely worth the watch. It kind of starts to go batshit crazy once the devil's kind of fully fledged himself out of Andrew and starts to try and take over the world and stuff. It gets kind of interesting, but there are some decent scenes in this film. There's a scene where, you know, Andrew's actually in the shower, and I actually won't even give away the scene, but it's so fucking bizarre. It's really, really bizarre. But, you know, overall, the movie itself is actually pretty decent. You know, it's pretty well acted. It's pretty well shot. The locations and stuff are pretty cool. But I just feel like the first half of the movie, it's just a little bit jumbled. It's too much jumping around from him in school to introducing these characters and stuff. And like I want to say, it's a little bit of a slow burn. There is things that are happening, but the things that are happening just aren't that interesting. You know, you would think that they would try to flesh out Andrew's character or the devil coming out of him a little bit more. There is a scene where he sacrifices a dog and stuff. But really, for the first hour of the movie, there's not really a whole lot of craziness going on and stuff, and it's more about these archangels trying to figure out like what their purpose is and stuff, which is kind of an awkward premise, because you think that if they were sent down there, they would have that already incorporated into their mission a little bit, but I don't know, it's a little bit messy. But some of the technical specs in the film, The soundtrack is actually really cool. It's kind of got like a punk soundtrack. Like I said, it's modern day, set in 1981. So it has this kind of punk soundtrack. It's got like Anarchy in the UK playing. Actually, when they play that song, it's a really cool scene. Andrew's kind of standing on this ledge, this patio thing at the school, and he's kind of overlooking the parking lot and stuff. I love that shot though. It's a shot of him from far away and stuff, and that song's playing. He's just kind of staring at everybody all staring strangely and shit. Actually, really cool. The score though, it's really terrible, man. The music in the movie is actually really bad. It just doesn't really fit the tone of the film. Like, it has this kind of happy feel to it until it kind of goes back shit at the end of it, but the music really does, it still just doesn't fit the movie. It's weird. I don't know why they use that type of music. It makes it feel like kind of like a movie of the week type deal. It's very awkward. It's very, very strange and shit, but yeah, this whole movie, you know, it's definitely worth the watch for the end, the last half an hour of it, man. That's when the shit kind of goes batshit crazy. There's a really cool atmospheric scene in this where the devil basically rises up these zombies and shit, and it's kind of out of left field too, because you don't really expect him to start doing shit like that. It doesn't really fit the movie though, and from what I think, you know, from what I've read also, is that the director, he put that in there specifically for the fact that zombies were super popular at the time, and you can tell because it just kind of comes out of left field. But although essentially it is the coolest scene in the movie, it gets super dark and atmospheric. There's this play dealing with Jesus and stuff on this beach and stuff, and this is where all this kind of shit happens. It's kind of cool actually. And then, man, the end battle with the archangels first, the devil, is absolutely hilarious. It just feels like you're watching a fantasy film by this time. The effects are so cheesy. It has all that crazy lightning bolt stuff and all the weapons that they're using and just all the light that's coming off. It's so beyond cheesy, but so entertaining. I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. Kind of saved the whole movie for myself, really, because the ride there is something we've seen a million times. It's not really anything that special and stuff. And if it wasn't for the end of the film and just kind of the tone change, you know, the atmosphere and how dark it gets and stuff, mixed in with those cheesy effects, it probably would have been pretty bland. But I loosely recommend this one. I'm going to give this one about a 6 out of 10. I don't know what's with my nose this week. It's been so itchy. It's because I've been getting sick like all week. I lost my voice and now I'm just like, ugh, I'm not feeling great. But yeah, I give this one about a 6.5 out of 10. It's decent. You know, I think, like I said, the first half of the film isn't as good as the second half. It's kind of one of those deals. But man, I tell you, the end of the movie, I was pissing myself, though. It's pretty funny. So, yeah, Fear No Evil. Not a bad one right here. The transfer is fantastic on this, I will say. They did a 4K transfer on this, which is really cool and stuff. There's some interviews with actually the guy that plays Satan or Andrew in the film. And an audio commentary with him too, which is actually pretty cool. So, but yeah, Fear No Evil. That's gonna do it here for day 30. Check you guys tomorrow in day 31, the final day of the 31 Days of Horror Challenge. So yeah, I'll check you guys then. And as usual, do